I'm Robin Ram. I'm the manager of the property acquisitions and research team at Momentum Wealth, and I'm joined by Damian Collins, founder and managing director of Momentum Wealth and past president of the Real Estate Institute of Western Australia. Thank you for joining us, Damian.
Pleasure, Robin.
Today we're going to talk about the 2023 property market and what we can expect in Perth for investors looking to invest into our local marketplace. So Damian, what are some factors that will influence the housing market in 2023?
Well, Robin, certainly in 2022, interest rates was a factor that everyone was talking about, and no doubt that it does have some impact on the market. But coming into 2023, where we think we'll see a plateauing of interest rates, there's a couple of critical things for the Perth market. The first one is the current shortage of properties that we have. Right now, we've got just over 8,000 properties for sale, and it's been around that mark for quite some time. A balanced market's around about 12 or 13,000. And we've also got a shortage of rental properties, vacancy rates near record lows, less than 2,000 properties advertised for rent. So that's just simply not enough. So we come into the market with certainly much more demand than there is supply. Also, we've got population growth returning as well, and that's going to be a big factor in 2023. We did see the borders, of course, open up in 2022, and we started to see some people come in. But certainly with all the jobs available in WA, there's going to be a lot of people move into the state, particularly from overseas. Hard to get them from over east, but from particularly overseas, we'll see in 2023, so that'll fuel demand as well. And also we've got the housing industry who just simply can't deliver much housing stock. We had that certainly a boom in approvals and starts in 2021 in particular with all the grants that were going around, but the industry just don't have enough labour to finish them. They can only build about 15,000 or complete about 15,000 or so homes a year. That's simply not enough. Based on the Treasury forecast of population growth, we think they'll need 60,000 plus homes just on that, plus renovations and demolition. So fundamentally, I think with all those factors, if the economy stays strong, which I anticipate it will, and we certainly are a mining-based economy in WA, then I think demand is going to be stronger than supply, and we're definitely going to see prices rise.
Yep, thank you very much. So what does affordability play in Perth marketplace in 2023?
Yeah, right now we're sitting as the most affordable market in the country, and look, everyone uses different median figures, but the national body, the Real Estate Institute of Australia, their median figure shows Perth is around about 540,000 median house price. Brisbane is 750,000, around that range. Adelaide's 660, and Sydney's close to 1.5, 1.6. So even Hobart's at 800 and something thousand. So we are coming to this into the market in 2023 as by far the most affordable capital city, and that doesn't make sense. Should be as expensive as Sydney and Melbourne? No, they're bigger markets. The more people you have, you're always going to find higher house prices, but we should be much closer to Brisbane, which is in that mid 700 range. And so certainly from an affordability point of view, there's a fair bit of upside available, where for most people, housing is still very affordable in WA.
Yep. So the last 6 months we've seen a lot of press coverage about the interest rate increases. What sort of impact do you think that will bring forward into 2023?
Look, no doubt interest rates can have a dampening effect on the market. Like it's going to be when they're lower, obviously people's borrowing capacity is higher, so we have seen a reduction in people's borrowing capacity. So, but I think we're towards the end of the rate rises as we sit here at towards the back end of 2022. We will see a couple more in 2023, but most of the rate rises that are going to occur have already occurred. And if you look back historically, the West Australian housing market is certainly far more impacted by population growth and the jobs and the strength of the economy, because the economy drives people to come here. If you look back in the 2015 to 2019, 2020 period, interest rates went down. So did the Perth housing market. And you look at 2007 and around that sort of 2003 to 2007, interest rates, and particularly in 2008, interest rates went up. So did the Perth housing market. So the correlation between house prices and interest rates is fairly loose in Western Australia. It's much stronger in other states. We're far more impacted by the economic conditions because that affects population growth and people's wages.
Yep. Okay. So when a lot of people moving to Western Australia or looking to invest in WA, getting a good return for your investment is crucial. Do you feel there'll be areas of Perth that will outperform other areas and other suburbs?
Oh, absolutely. Look, in the property market is not one market, so when we talk generically about Perth, there will be some areas that certainly outperform with the average, and there'll be areas that underperform. So it's still very much a picker's market. You've got to be able to select the best suburbs, the best locations, and sometimes within those suburbs there's pockets that you want to buy and there's pockets that you don't. So there's so much that goes into it, as you would know in our research-led process. There's so many things. So yes, it's very much going to be a market and you're looking at, I want to invest in this area for perhaps up to 10 years, you've got to pick the right locations. That's critical.
So for investors looking at the Perth marketplace, what are some pointers that you could give them?
Well, I think Perth is a city that is still very car focused, and I think that's going to change. And if you look at cities like Sydney and Melbourne, where the access to infrastructure, particularly around public transport, that is a critical factor over there. People pay a fairly large premium to be near good quality public transport. That will certainly come more into play in the decades ahead. It's not really, people don't pay much of a premium at the moment to be near their public transport. So certainly the roads, but because we are heavily car dependent still, people want to be near those freeways and access ways. And in Perth, as being a coastal city, certainly a proximity to the CBD, the water, and those sort of locations are really critical. And we've got quite a big river as well. People like to live near that as well. So there's a lot of factors that go into this, just a couple, but there's some of the critical things you've got to be looking at when you're buying into the Perth market.
So what's your opinion on investor activity affecting the Perth market in 2023?
Been interesting. We've certainly seen a pickup in investor activity over the last couple of years. In 2019, it was at near record lows, off 80% from its highs back in 2013-14. But we've certainly recovered from that. But we have seen some investors selling out of the market. That's one of the reasons why we've got such a near all-time low vacancy rate, and why we've seen rents go up substantially. The median rent in Perth now is about $500 a week. It wasn't that long ago, it was only $350 a week. But interestingly enough, when you look at the figures from the National Real Estate Institute, we've still got amongst the most affordable rental market in the country. So there is still more capacity. I know people don't want to pay more rent, but there is capacity in the system for people to be able to pay more rent. So I would expect we will certainly start to see more investors come back in. They've certainly come back, but given where the vacancy rates are and how much rents are, I would have thought that we'd see more investors. But I certainly think we will see a further pickup again in 2023.
Yeah, our buyer's agent section seen quite a demand from interstate as well as local investors looking to purchase in the market, making the most of the yield, the returns that they're getting, as well as hopefully the upswing in the capital growth.
I think that's an interesting factor that sometimes when you're in your own, you don't see it in your own backyard. As you mentioned, there is certainly a lot of interstate investors who are looking at their home markets going, well, in Perth I can get a 5% potentially gross yield on some properties versus the home market leading gross yields of 3%, in Sydney and Melbourne particularly. So it doesn't surprise me that we're seeing people from that side of the country keen to invest into the Perth market.
Yep. Thank you, Damian. So any final tips for investors into 2023?
Well, property is a long-term investment, Robin, so certainly anyone I think is going to go into investing in 2023, the first thing you've got to do is get a plan and have a strategy in place. And a lot of people go into the market, they're not thinking ahead. You don't want to be getting out of the market in 12 months' time if you've hasn't met your plan and your needs. So getting a proper plan in place, certainly when you're borrowing, it's really critical that you work with your broker to make sure that you're getting your loans reviewed regularly, because interest rates can sometimes go up more on the established loans than brand new loans. So making sure that the loan is in place is right for you, not only from an interest rate point of view, but the right structure. And if you're going to buy an asset in 2023, really critical that you're really doing your homework, doing your research. It's not a matter of all markets are going to go up, and within a market, just because the market is generally going up, not all properties will go up at the same rate. So critical about buying the right assets, and of course choosing the right property manager to manage that asset for you, someone who's proactive and is going to look after your investment. And particularly with the rents rising, we sometimes do see when we get assets from other property managers, they haven't been putting the rents up to market. So all those things are critical, and but I certainly think if you get those right, 2023 could be a great year to invest in property.
Cool. Thank you very much, Damian. If you have any questions or would like to speak to one of our consultants, please head to momentumwealth.com.au.